I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life. But think twice. That's my only advice. Come on now, who do you think you are? Oh, hi, bless your soul. You really think you're in control? Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes had the heart to lose their lives out on a limb. And all I remember is thinking, I wanna be like them. And ever since I was little, it looked like fun. And it's no coincidence I've come. And I can die when I'm done. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Probably. 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 Just like me. Just like me.
Wow. Wow. Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Not So Chill. High fidelity. Feeling the feels on that opener. It's a lot going on since we were last here. Glad everybody's with us. Thank you to everybody who shows up. Thanks to all the friends in the chat. Really happy to see some family here tonight. Damn, hi-fi. Feeling that. What inspired you to choose that song?
Well, it's funny because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, the world's crazy. Everything's going crazy. And I mean, how many years have we been telling people that this was going to happen?
Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you for that. And thank you for all the work that you put into it. It's hard. It's hard to see some of that stuff. And in any case, Yeah, like the world's at war. Um, some people seem to be painfully unaware still, and some people seem to be unaware that real fascism is existing. And I don't know why that seems unclear when we are coming on a week of just absolute you know, madness. Anyway, Jim Stewartson, kick us off. What's on your mind? You've been doing some incredible reporting. I honestly don't even know where to begin, Jim. You just fire away.
I mean, I guess you got to start with what just happened, right? Um, I mean, I think I just want to read it's one sentence what Ketanji Brown Jackson said, which is that the court's decision to permit the executive to violate the Constitution with respect to anyone who has not yet sued is an existential threat to the rule of law. So and I just wrote a piece about this. What's diabolical about this ruling is that it's two-pronged, right? It on one hand completely seizes the power of the judicial branch for itself. It says, "Oh, you little courts, you don't get to decide it. You don't get to have any teeth at all. None of your all of Trump's executive orders are hereby validated by default," right? And in order for anyone to prevail against Trump's regime, you have to sue and get it to the Supreme Court because none of the lower courts have any actual power. It is just like, and yes, to your point, Heidi, I still see, these legal scholars like, well, it's not quite it. It's like, no, guys. What they did was took the power of the courts away, said to Trump, you can do anything you want. You're already a king, but now, like, all your executive orders, everybody else has to listen to them. And now we're going on vacation for 4 months.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what do they actually think in their little appeal to Evan hearts is going to happen?
Yeah.
What's going to happen is very clear. The Trump regime, ICE, these mass anonymous thugs are going to spread out everywhere across America and start picking up what? American citizens.
Yeah. Homegrowns.
Because
Homegrowns.
they just suspended at the same time the 14th Amendment
Yeah.
that says that if you're born in America, you're a citizen. Now, this is just to be clear. This is not just a punch in the face of immigrants and the Statue of Liberty. It is a punch in the face of Black people, African Americans, slaves that were ensured their citizenship by the amendment that this criminal bribe cult is currently trying to destroy. And it is just, phenomenal to me that people are still sitting around wondering, when does the fascism start? Geez, what's going to happen? Y'all,
Yeah.
Amy
Yeah.
Coney Barrett, as mentioned before, she was, we were hanging by a handmaid, and we found out she got some pressure from the MAGAs. She got a few truths, and she just was like, well, might as well let them go for it. So, guys, almost finished. We are on our own. The judicial branch has literally just been captured by 6 unelected cult members.
Yeah.
And so we are rapidly running out of, of options. Go ahead.
We have experienced political assassinations brazenly in the United States of America. Trump did not make America great. Trump is turning America into a third world dictatorship where politicians are openly shot down. Like, what is going on? Where is any semblance of law enforcement? Where is any semblance of accountability? Where is anything?
Well,
There's nothing
uh,
left.
so I keep on. Do you remember when we had Michael Weiss on the show? And uh, he said, nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. I've been listening to the History of Rome podcast, Mike Duncan's podcast. There's like couple hundred episodes, and I've just been going through them 20 minutes at a time. And everything we're seeing play out, nothing new under the sun. We've seen this before. We've seen it in recent history. We here on this show have predicted note for note what happened in Nazi Germany, what happened in Mussolini's Italy. We have talked to you about what happened in Chile under Pinochet. We have told you all these things, and we are watching it happen. And the response still, I understand there are protests and there are people who do get it, and I am so grateful to those who do. But the underwhelming, still somewhat muted response, I don't know what's going on other than information warfare and people's minds being clouded or maybe too much coming at them. And I this week put together a panel of many of our regular guests: Monique Kamara, Yoni Askala, Dietmar Pichler, and Stephen Douglas from Dis and Folklore. And I asked them to help everybody who we could get, to pay attention, help people understand how to best create their news sphere, how to best retain facts and stay in reality. And I will be publishing those transcripts tomorrow in Byline. But essentially, there are so many things that we have to do. But Jim said it, we are on our own. We begged the previous administration to prioritize defense and inoculation against information warfare, which I'm now calling internet espionage. What we have been dealing with are basically agents of influence hacking our minds and our culture remotely and triggering people in whatever ways would have the best outcome, so they would have an underwhelming response or being looking away from the things that matter. And again, we're going to keep doing the best we can to inform people, but I don't know if some people just think, hey, maybe they can just write out fascism. I'm not sure what they think. People don't become unfascist once you elect that kind of leader who puts the type of administration we're seeing, these performative propagandists, everything so carefully crafted as if they're on stage conducting their own concerts, and of course media just parroting. We're on our own, and we're going to have to figure out what we can do to stay rooted in reality where things actually really do matter again, and we come up with strategies on how to fight back. But I am again kind of shocked when I check in with friends who just seem to kind of shrug off what's happened. And in the last 2 weeks, nothing good.
Well, I mean, a little bit. I would say that what happened in New York qualifies.
Mm.
I still have questions about Zoran Mamdani,
Yeah.
uh,
Reservations.
but 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 he's putting ideas out there that are new. he's demonstrating something very important, which is that we gotta stop being so fucking afraid of young people, of people who have ideologies that may be different from ours. It might not be white Christian men, right? Like, remember, everybody was afraid of Pete Buttigieg being the vice president because, oh my God, he's gay and we can't have, like, none of that shit matters. You know what matters? A charismatic young dude who is unashamed of saying the things that people are feeling inside, right? And I think that we, the Democrats, need to take a really fucking hard look at that and understand that they are completely and totally off of where the actual energy is, where the growth is. And if they aren't careful, what's going to happen is that is going to take off all by itself. We're going to get split, and God knows what kind of creature it will be, because still these feckless establishment nitwits are having a fucking circular firing squad while they're literally just like ripping the country apart. They're like, "Whoa, who's the vice president of the DNC?" Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I just, like, what I want, sorry, what I want is that dude over there who's leading. Lead me. Lead us. That's what we need. We need leaders. And honestly, I don't give a shit where it comes from at this point. But we need people who are willing to say the hard parts, willing to say it loudly, and without shame. Sorry for my imitation.
Oh no, it's going to be ranty for a minute today. I was looking at
Yeah,
Gal's comments, and Gal, what we don't want is agents working for the Russian military to be tweaking our minds from remote. But the internet's just not a pure play. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. But what we have not done is literally anything. The 2016 election, greatest crime in American history, in my opinion, we did nothing. We just let it keep happening. Nobody talked about it. There was a few things, there was some reports, but nobody who really targeted us. Nothing bad happened. A few people, may have gotten a sentence and then gotten pardoned. And it was just like, all the traitors and fifth columnists in America, they're in the current administration. It is absolutely freaking bananas. I can't even, administration's not the right word for what we are seeing. And as Jim, we are going to talk about our most recent episode with Yoni Askala, A World at War, where Jim does, please watch it. He does go into the divisions and splintering we are seeing within Trumplandia. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all tonight, Jim, before we introduce some of the clips from Yoni. But I think it's, the evil people turn inward and devour each other. That is one of my mantras. And, maybe it's happening.
yeah. I mean, the problem is that it has this self-healing, self-reinforcing thing. Like today, right? They've been splintering for a reason. They've been splintering because all of these groups came around Trump, and Trump is a transactional moron, doesn't give a shit about anything, and so he's getting in fights with everybody. Where was I going with that, Heidi? I totally
Just
somebody.
talking about the splintering, the
Yeah,
literally like the different
yeah,
factions dividing up. Yeah.
right.
Iran
And
Israel
so
war.
yeah, so they've been all of these groups are starting to fight with each other. The PayPal Mafia, the Theocrats, and then the fucking Supreme Court does what? Comes in, and now they're all just rallying around, like a week ago, Trump was having an absolute conviction fit about Amy Coney Barrett and all the wokes on the Supreme Court. You know, but you know, once this sort of organism feels a little bit threatened, like something like this will just happen, and you know, they're all excited now because now Trump gets to go and round people up at Home Depot with no accountability whatsoever, whether or
Yeah.
not they're a citizen. And
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Bananas.
So the splintering and the coming back together, it's like this organism and that I breathes in and out, and I don't know if there's ever, you know, if we're going to be able to
Wow.
do
It
it
reminds me
on.
of the Terminator where the guy
Yeah,
kept, being, I don't know, melting and then reforming. One more thing that I want to say, because Gal Suburban is in the chat and we obviously love Gal and she's so smart. And she was talking about her concerns about extreme left. And I know what you're saying, Jim, wherever it's coming from. But having worked on a campaign where I was a manager and I watched this extreme left faction try to completely gut the Democratic Party from within in my local community. And then, of course, reported on the St. Petersburg, Florida operatives who were actually working directly for the Russians, being paid by them. And so I have a jaundiced eye. That's all I'm saying. Where I want to I just take a
look,
step back.
I just want to
The
say something
the
real quick because there's been
yes,
this toxic sort of uh, impression that has been intentionally put out there of socialists. And a lot of that is, yes, because of these fucking ops. They call themselves that on the left
yeah,
and end up
yeah.
being, you know, paid by the fucking Russians. You know, these pink cats and shit. I don't mean the pussy hat, but you know what I mean.
We know.
And but socialism, let's like, there's Zoran is a democratic socialist, like Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist, like Norway and Finland and all of these fucking countries that are doing just fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
We are currently our system is this weird. It's Anglo-Saxon like trickle down Reaganomics shit that still has been left over since the 1980s. Look at what has happened to America since then. So forgive me if somebody who comes forward and says, yeah, you know what, actually, I think we should have universal health care and shit like that. I
hell
want
yeah,
those I want those ideas put out there. And I think it's important to be cautious of far
yeah,
left ideas, but just because somebody is putting ideas that feel like they're to the left of you, it doesn't mean that they're part of the horseshoe.
right,
There are people who actually just are like that. And
yeah,
for me, I think it's hold on. I think it's important that people in our tent be allowed to put ideas like that out without necessarily being accused of being some part of some op.
oh
Doesn't
yeah,
mean, by the way, that I have made up my mind about this particular guy, because I haven't.
right,
But in principle, I was very glad to see a grassroots, young, energetic, internet-friendly dude, make a stand in New York City against, by the way, Andrew fucking Cuomo.
yeah,
So
right,
sorry.
right,
Last
Well,
thing, Brad Lander, the guy who got beat up by ICE, who was who has been in New York City government for 30 years, was on stage with Mamdani after when he won, and will very likely be, one of his second in, his main chiefs. So, I just don't feel like this is some kind of
Yeah.
uh,
No, I was literally just responding to what she was
I
saying
know.
in the chat
I'm.
because,
It's just in
yeah,
general, this
it,
pushback has happened, and so I'm
yeah.
responding more general. That's
No, I got it. And your piece that you wrote on socialism was really, really important. Before we get to Yoni's clip, I want to just preview what I write about in my byline column tomorrow, because you guys know that I just did a report on Peter Pomerantsev's book, This Is Not Propaganda. He has such important experience, so valuable. His parents being followed and tracked by the KGB, they were dissidents, and he also, lived in Moscow from the, in the, 2001 to 2010 period, and just watched all this stuff unfold. But one of the things that he said that made me realize just how desperately we have to save ourselves is, he wrote in the book, is disinformation just the excuse we use to let ourselves off the hook? We didn't do anything because we were confused by a bot farm. And that just really resonated with me because, again, Timothy Snyder called it, called getting lost in the code so desperately sad when people think they're arguing with somebody online, whether it's a real person or some programmed response, written by political technologists. It's just like, we've got to take freaking ownership of our facts and what we do with our time and how we vet people. We can't just throw up our hands and say, oh, disinformation made me do it, or, some troll on the internet. Like, no, like, this era is so over. We literally have to uh make it a priority on how we take in information, consume information, and how we, rejoin a fact-based world, because this shit is just spinning out of control and nobody is coming to save us. And I just wanted to reiterate that point, and please encourage everybody to, if you don't want to read the book, read my report on it. It's yeah, this is going to be the fight of our freaking lifetime, and we got to just, we have to be the ones that save ourselves. That's all I can say. Anyway, Yoni clip, what do you guys say?
Sounds good.
I think China and Russia both get some benefits from this. China gets a lot of benefit in terms of the US and the Western focus being on Ukraine and on the Middle East at the same time. So there's no focus on Asia and there's no pivot to Asia. So in that sense, it's good for them. But also in terms of soft power, it makes the US look like an aggressive nation, and it makes it easy for whataboutist arguments to be used. So in that sense, China is profiting from this. But China and Russia both have positive and negative sides coming from this. For China, Iran is a big provider of energy. And if Iran cannot provide that, that's an issue for them. For Russia, there's also downsides to this, but Russia and China are both known to be quite good at improvising and trying to make the best out of situations that are both good and bad for them. And Russia is going to go all in on staying as close as possible to China, and also on trying to make the West look aggressive and look like the aggressor. And also in dividing the West, dividing the US, you will have a lot of people who oppose these moves that will be made, but you also have people who support them. Same in Europe. And also it takes resources away from helping Ukraine.
You know what happened since then? Trump has lowered the sanctions on Iranian oil to China. And truth about it, like, hey, see, Mr. Xi, we're not so bad after all. It said at some other point, like, usually we're supposed to go in there and get the oil, but we're not going to do that. So in terms of the sort of transactional model that went on here, look, this whole thing was kabuki. Every single move was projected ahead of time to everybody else. Trump was like, "Ooh, we're gonna get Iran, and we're gonna get these particular places." And then they're like, "Oh, just kidding! It's gonna be 2 weeks." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, so Iran absolutely knew it was coming, and remember, the entire fucking administration is full of Russian spies. Like, not just the personnel director at the White House. Susie Wiles, the
100%.
chief of staff, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
They're all connected
Yeah.
to the goddamn Russians.
Yeah.
So it was no surprise to Iran, Russia's ally, and so the 900 pounds of uranium, that's the most important part of the nuclear program. They have no fucking idea where it is. It was all pretend. And then the thing that I still can't get over, that even that no one really thinks is a big deal, which is that in his press conference, Trump said that he authorized an attack on an American military base. Oh, it's no big deal.
At 1 o'clock.
What? Well,
At 1 o'clock.
yes. Yeah. The quote was, "Is 1 o'clock okay?" And he was like, "They said it was fine." I'm seeing it like, and then he talks about the 44 service members that were left at the base. He's proud of himself because everybody was gone and it was no big deal and they just shot him out of the sky. That's 44 human beings that you are the commander in chief of. And you were like, "Oh, sure, Ayatollah, shoot some fucking missiles at them." What's happening? What's happening? Like, why doesn't anybody in the military, in our existing military, like, go, "What the fuck, dude? What are you saying right now? You authorized an attack on our soldiers?" I just don't understand where the whole, like, love of country, respect for the military, patriotism, nationalism, if you want to call it that. Where the fuck is it?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
will say that.
like, I'm just
Go ahead.
the I am so fed up with any of their attempts to, try and make this about America anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Right. Thank you, Jim.
I'm
As
not,
you're talking, nine, of course, duh,
you
duh.
know.
As you're talking, I was thinking about the 6,041 episodes that Fox did on Benghazi. Benghazi. Meh. And it's just like, that is propaganda we're talking about. And, all the people who made their careers on Fox talking about Benghazi and just completely attacking Hillary over and over and over again. And if you look at what's happened since then, it's like, man, Hi-Fi always says, "Where's the outrage?" I see Hi-Fi's finger up. I have one more point I want to make. Do you want to go ahead and make your statement, High Fidelity?
I just have one question. Like, the definition of treason is aiding and abetting an enemy of the United States, right?
Yeah. Right.
During wartime, is that not
Right.
correct? So
Well,
if you're making a plan with Iran to blow up our shit, and put our service members in danger. How is that not fucking treason? That's all. I'm good.
Well, what did we learn in the last few years? We got really bad in America at dealing with actual treason. And that's treasonous in and of itself. Because information warfare is hot on my mind right now, I just want to bring up something that Disinfolklore and Decoding Trolls Stephen Douglas told people to look for. He calls it archetypal disinfolklore, but he says when the word ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire is being thrown around, but what you're actually getting are bombs dropping. He said to look for any terms that are used that actually decouples the meaning of the word from the actual facts, because that is actual way to see what's really going on. He said when he worked in Ukraine for 3 years, he said he literally monitored about 180 ceasefires, but every day he'd get reports of more bombing and more shelling, et cetera, et cetera. So anytime you see words being used where the actual meaning is being decoupled from reality, that's a red flag, and that is a very good way to understand they're trying to seed something in your mind, in your consciousness, that is actual, detrimental propaganda. So that's my public service announcement for this minute. And do we want to see another clip? And for those of you who have not met Yoni Askala on our show, he's a geopolitical analyst. He does a lot of good for Ukraine. He's always raising money with his brother and taking trucks into Ukraine. And he is just fierce on Twitter. His threads are really worth checking out. And he did an interview with us when all the dramatic events of the week unfolded. So, second clip, hi-fi.
Very complex situation, but it really shows that this isolationism and this pro-peace ticket that Trump was selling is a scam, or at least it's a very selective isolationism that doesn't apply to everyone. It applies to helping Russia take Eastern Europe, and it probably applies to China getting some pieces of Asia, but it doesn't apply to the Middle East. And it will be interesting to see what happens in the next few days with the decisions Trump will make, but the situation doesn't look like it will de-escalate.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember the isolationists? Remember their war wouldn't happen on my watch. Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, I mean that was always bullshit, right? Excuse me. You will notice that after the Supreme Court does this today, Trump immediately goes back to war with Canada. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but all of a sudden Trump's like, okay, now I'm out of Canada again, right? Like,
Yeah.
why in particular? It's because Trump, the finger.
Well, the reason is ICE. ICE killed a Canadian citizen. What the fuck?
Yeah. Right.
But
Not
that's,
funny.
yeah, but that's not why Trump. I mean, Trump is now going to turn his ire now against. He now feels that he has, and he's right, a 4-month window to do anything the fuck he wants. Does everybody realize that? What's going to stop him? What's going to stop him? The Supreme Court just told the guy that already has immunity from all the things that it doesn't matter if it's constitutional, it doesn't matter if it's illegal, it doesn't matter with due process or whatever. The only way that this can be adjudicated is if we, the Supreme Court, rule on its constitutionality after it happens. And we'll see in October. So, that my big concern right now is just what, because they've been ramping up for the summer of love 2.0, and we're gonna have the Antifers and the BLMs and all this stuff, right? Well, they've got all kinds of weird shit lining up, to start talking about, arresting people for, being part of a terrorist gang like Antifa. Guess who's gonna, I jokingly had Antifa on my Twitter account for like 3 months. Like they're gonna come at me because I was Antifa. You're goddamn right. What are you gonna? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? No judge can stop them, right?
Yeah.
No, nobody can help me. The
Yeah.
government that's supposed to help me is against me. Like the only sort of uh, weirdly sort of buffer zone I have is California.
I was just
But
gonna say, yeah.
but now there's 5,000 armed forces like 8 miles down the street with
I
with
I
with
I
machine guns and shit. Not like
yeah.
Anyway, well, go ahead.
I would just a little tiny, I don't know if you call it good news, but I do appreciate the fact that Gavin Newsom is suing Fox News for $787 million for defamation. I mean, like we just got to
I,
take the good news where we can get it. And I
I
do think
love.
that's kind of cool.
I think I think Gavin Newsom, under the circumstances, is doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
And dude has game. He's got fucking
Yeah.
game, and you
Yeah.
have to have it out here. Like
Yeah.
his social media game, the way he
Yeah.
speaks, the way he pushes back, the way he makes you feel
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, here's somebody leading, right? He's not
Yeah.
perfect. There's all kinds of shit, but he was married to Kim Guilfoyle for
Yeah.
fuck's sake, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
But as I've told people, like, and about other people's or other whoever else, we need chaotic good right now. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have anybody who's played D&D, right? We don't need lawful good with the elves and oh, we're gonna line up and fuck that shit. We need some, like, Hagrid rolling in rolling with us, right? And so I like people like Newsom, who's willing to mix it up, who's willing even to have Steve Bannon on the show or whatever. As fucking weird as that is, like dude's willing to make some mistakes or whatever, and he's also willing to go toe to toe with these people. So you know, I'm with you, Heidi. I think there is a little bit of room to wiggle,
Yeah. Right.
in the big blue states,
Right.
but it's not much.
Right. 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 Hi-Fi's got the finger up.
Hey, DNC, you need some chaotic good. Hire me.
Yeah. Akron, Ohio. Uh,
Well, I mean,
no. They should have done it 4 years ago, 6 years ago. Hi-Fi came
They're
out of
just they're
retirement.
weak.
Hi-Fi
I
came
mean,
out of
you've
retirement.
floated.
Hold on.
You
Hold on.
you've
Hold on.
floated
Hold
around
on.
the.
Hold on, hold on. Hi-Fi came out of retirement a few days ago to really frickin' own somebody on the internet, and it was just such a thing of beauty. Such a thing of beauty. It was just like, oh my God, you remain
He
the
never
master,
retired.
you master troll. Seriously, just
He
anyway,
never
I was
retired.
very, I know, but you know what I'm saying.
You
Um,
don't see what he actually does.
you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, I used to have Gavin Newsom on a show that I used to produce all the time, and he is in an unparalleled political operative and a survivor, and I'm very interested to see where this all goes. And like I said, one thing I can say is during COVID, I was very grateful to be in California, where we actually had best practices, and we actually wore masks and socially distanced, and made the vaccine rollout easy. And what did we learn? That government is good, kids. Universal health care is good. It's wonderful. So, Yeah, anyway, Godspeed, California. They've been trying to gun for California for a very, very long time. They being the, fascist contingency and the pro-Kremlin contingency because of all of California's incredible strengths. So I would like to hear from Yoni again. I don't remember which clip it is, but if you can find number 3, High Fidelity.
Obviously, Israel has committed tons of war crimes and so on, and is hated by the Muslim world because of that. But Iran is actually hated by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Morocco, and all the countries basically that have signed deals with Israel in the last few years. And those countries were against Israel in Gaza, but on Iran, they actually support Israel. They're not going to say it out loud because they cannot, but they hate Shia Muslims and they're Sunnis themselves. And that makes the whole thing even more complicated, because you have this option that you have the whole Muslim world going against Israel, but you also have the option where you actually have Israel kind of becoming closer and closer to the Sunnis, which is also going to be the case maybe in Syria at some point if the situation between Israel and Syria comes down, because the leadership of Syria hates Iran as well, because Iran had been playing a big role there under Assad. So you have Syria, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Morocco, and so on, Azerbaijan, which is very close to Israel. So you have some part of the Muslim world that is kind of happy with what's happening, but they cannot say it. But then, of course, you have all the Shia Muslims and all the proxies of Iran who are going to be even more extreme than before, and who are going to be ready to commit terrorist attacks and so on. So it's a complicated play, and it doesn't make the operation less risky in any way, but it just that's the other option that could happen with this, and that is quite different from the first scenario.
Weird shit.
Well, I mean, yes. I
To
mean,
quote George W. Bush, some weird shit.
okay. I got
Can I
two words
just
out and the
Sorry.
figure went up. So I'll shut up.
Yep.
can I just ask our audience to go out and watch the 1997 classic Wag the Dog with Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman, and then just start thinking about what you just lived through the last couple weeks. That's all.
Thanks,
Yeah, I
Hi-Fi
mean,
Jim.
let's review just briefly. Putin is on all sides of that conflict, every single side. Putin had a sort of flashy relationship with Iran. Putin had Hamas at the Kremlin 6 months before 10/7. Hezbollah a year before that at the Kremlin. Hundreds of millions of dollars are flowing into the accounts of these terrorist groups in crypto. So Putin is all over that side of things. Putin is also all up in Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu and Putin go way back. They have an extremely cozy relationship, and they talk magically all the time before and after all of these terrible things that happen. Also, Putin famously controls Donald Trump, right? I mean, not just Putin, going all the way back to the KGB in 1987. Go look at Craig Unger. It's not a mystery that we have a huge chunk of the American government is devoted to Putin. So Putin is sitting back here, like, watching all of his frenemies, like, destroy each other. And nobody is going after this dude except who? Ukraine. This one little country, this scrappy ass little country, is holding down the fort against this whole thing. I just saw a video. This enormous in Odessa, beautiful city, where the tallest city on the skyline, a giant apartment building full of civilians, just a giant rocket slams into the top. So this is fucking terrorist. And the world basically, still just sits back and lets it happen. The cowardice is remarkable. And at some point, one of those fucking bunker busters needs to go down the chimney at the Kremlin, and the world will be a much better place. That is the event that in my view,
That'll
is
change
the
everything.
thing. It would change the world.
Yeah.
He's threatened, by the way, that he's on all kinds of dead man switches and shit, and if anything happens to him, it's going to be nuclear calamity. We had fairly good intelligence before Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard got in there. So
Right.
anyway,
Right. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't
I
have that
mean,
anymore.
the biggest threat to all democracies has been Putin. And if Ukraine defeats Russia, then the Putin regime goes away and the world becomes, it can begin to recover from this, but it will still take the will of leaders, you know, inoculating people against the next military attack that uses the internet consistently to hack people's minds, which was how this show even started. We all saw it happening and we saw nobody was doing anything about it. So here we are almost 4 years later. um Not the outcome we'd hoped for, but still in the fight. I think we should have one more clip from Yoni.
Yeah, thank you. It's something that Kaja Kallas, the ex Prime Minister of Estonia and currently works for the EU, she said recently, I think a couple of days ago, that if Ukraine doesn't win, then some countries in Europe need to start learning Russian. And that's a real thing. Right now, we have the first proof of new bases on the Finnish border with actual new brigades being moved to our border. And I'm not too worried for Finland. I don't think we're number one on the list. We might be number 3, number 4, something like that, which is still not good. But Ukraine is really key. Russia is behind all of this. It's not the only actor behind it. Trump and many other actors around the world who do bad things are supported by Russia. They also have other supporters, but taking Russia out takes a big one out of the equation. And obviously, we're not going to take Russia out in the sense of completely making it disappear. But if Russia cannot reach its objectives in Ukraine, then it won't be able to reach its objective elsewhere. And it will also weaken the regime because Russia is all in and Putin's legacy is based on that. So even if he manages to sell some lies to his population now, in the long run, he's not going to be able to lie if he doesn't manage to get anything big in Ukraine. So
What he said.
Yeah, I mean, and Ukraine, despite this, is not, doesn't appear to be going anywhere. And Putin is the wild part really is that there genuinely seems to be Trump seems to have fucked up his relationship with Putin, and it seems to be a genuine thing. Dugin, which is amazing because I've been watching Dugin now constantly for 4 or 5 years, and he
God bless
just
you.
flipped on a dime and is Donald Trump has been taken over by the globalists. I mean, it is wild how quick it has turned. And I praised her before. I will do it again. Julie Davis watches the Russians, so we don't have to.
Yeah, amazing.
and translates and has amazing commentary about it as well. And boy howdy, like they're just making fun of him every single day, the entire time. It's just it's like, it's like
Hold
watching.
on 1 second. Hi-Fi, mute yourself. I hear you typing. It's just like watching. What were you saying, Jim?
I don't know. It's like watching
No.
the like a crazy, leftist, like, one of those ops we were talking about. Anyway, like literally just saying all the things that are largely true, including the fact that he used to be a puppet of the Russians and now has gone like off the range. It's wild to see, but none of it matters when these information silos exist that no one ever gets out of.
Well,
And
your take.
last thing about this, just to tie it up, the one thing that dude in New York did is got out of his own fucking silo and went to all the places, not afraid, went everywhere, to every fucking neighborhood, on podcasts, didn't give a shit. I have, there are some other Democrats have started to do it.
Yeah.
That is what we have to, ultimately, it is an information war. And when we say it, it's not theoretical, it's not a metaphor, it's
Yeah.
warfare. And
Right.
in order to win a war, you have to think about it strategically and tactically. You got to think about territory. How do you recapture
Right.
hearts and minds? How do you, what is the first thing you do in war? Capture hearts and minds.
Right.
And yeah, you do it using psychological warfare, but that doesn't mean that you lie. It
Right.
doesn't mean at all that you lie. It means that you go and talk to people. You tell them
I
the
was going to
goddamn
say,
truth.
when I think I've told you this story before, when I was a campaign manager in 2022 for an LA City Council race, my candidate won, and it was very, very hard fought. And we dealt with all the kinds of things that we deal with here, the same people even trying to meddle and attack us. But um, she knocked on more doors. She knocked on doors relentlessly. She talked to everybody in the district. And when they talked to her and they aired their grievances and she responded, and she also, was an amazing person who actually takes action, doesn't just talk. But she was told early on that the candidate who loses the most weight during the campaign wins, and that's because of the canvassing, of the door knocking, walking door to door to door to door. And so anyway, that human contact is so incredibly vital, and more of that, please, and less just outrage farming on the internet. Um, yeah, I think that's our show, unless there's anything else that I've forgotten. Oh, no, Jim, there is one thing that you wrote about recently that I'd like you to say a few words on. I thought it was really important when you wrote about the head of NATO flattering Trump, because I think there was a lot of confusion when people saw the fealty that he showed. It was so like, you know, um, cloying in a way, and I think you saw right through it. Can you just say a couple words about that before we end the show?
Yeah, I mean, look, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, went into the White House and was, oh, Mr. President, and was super obsequious. I was like, ooh, what the fuck? And then Trump posted a text message, and I was like, oh, he's psyoping Donald Trump. Really, like, the Secretary of General of NATO doesn't act like that, including this one, to anyone else at all. If you look at the email, the text is like,
Yeah.
has all the things. Dear Donald, Mr. President, a big success. all the money you're going to save us in capital. Like, I mean, it was just like, I couldn't have done it better myself.
Obsequious.
If I was going to fucking psyop Donald Trump into thinking that because what is the goal of the Secretary of General of NATO? Is to protect over 1 billion people, right? This man is not like playing games except when he needs to. And I've learned, by the way, an enormous amount about psychological warfare from what? NATO. They have some of the best resources in psychological warfare in the world. Research out the wazoo about how propaganda works, how psychological warfare works, how cognitive warfare works. And so you cannot tell me that the Secretary General of NATO, who's responsible for over 1 billion people and talks to the leaders of nations every day, is out here going, "Oh, Donald Trump, I love you," when he's not doing it with a very specific purpose, which is to keep this guy on the hook as long as he can while Europe tries to take care of itself. And there really does seem to be serious action happening on the other side. So for me, what I perceived from that whole thing was just this guy, and might be wishful thinking, but I would be shocked if any of that stuff is real.
I bring it up only because I recall in Fire and Fury, the Michael Wolff book back in Trump 1.0, how Steve Bannon used to be frustrated, according to Michael Wolff, because whoever Trump would bump into last, who would flatter him the most, is the direction he would go in. So if you're saying there can be real divisions, it could be because, this guy's flattery was so good that maybe, Trump will, do what he asks, because
No,
that's
that's how it
again the
works.
last. Yeah.
That's
So,
literally how it works. That's how
yeah.
Bibi. So twice now, Bibi has sucked Trump into this Iran situation. I'm going to say it one more time in case anyone missed it. In 2018, Iran had 0 centrifuges, 0 enriched uranium. And what happened? Bibi Netanyahu convinced Donald Trump to rip up the agreement, which basically forced Iran into doing what? Exactly what it did. So you get to 2025, Donald Trump is promising the whole campaign, no more wars. I'm not going to get into this. This is not my thing. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Bibi fucking Netanyahu again gets out there. It's going to happen. They have it. It's coming in 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. It's coming. And this dumb old fucker, it just falls into it because he's convinced, right? It's like the KGB convinces him one day, and then the Mossad convinces him another day, and then, it's really like that. And that's why it's so fucking dangerous that, this guy, needless to say, has nuclear weapons, and the people around him, like P-Bags, not going to be in check on his insanity.
All I know is listening to The History of Rome by Mike Duncan. You're just like, all regimes must fall, all empires fall, right? But did it have to be to something as grotesque as Trump? Like, did it really have to be this way? It's so pathetic. It's fucking awful. Pardon my
Be
French.
the saving grace, just because it's so bad. The Fourth Reich is
Okay.
really stupid. There's no actual ideology. It's just a bunch of fucking disgusting human
Grotesques.
beings. It's just
Grotesques.
gross.
Yeah.
It's not,
Money,
anyway.
money, grotesques.
Moving on.
High Fidelity, this is our show. You have the ponderous look of the, deep thoughts with hi-fi before we end this. And thank you everybody again who was here tonight with us. It means so much to us.
What I would like to see is I would like to see individuals like Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel,
Mm,
Elon Musk, Joseph Lonsdale,
mm.
Eldon Wood, Michael Flynn, hauled in front of congressional committees over and over and over and just constantly hammered with a barrage of questions about what they have been doing to this country.
Well,
Me
first we
too.
have
So,
Me
to.
too.
hold
First we
on,
have to
hold
get
on. This
Teddy
is
Sweet
the
there.
end. This is my time.
Oh,
This
I'm
is me
sorry.
time. Me time. Me time. All right. And then the final thought I had as I was listening to us this evening was, I wonder if I made vinyl gimp suits and then airbrush Donald Trump on them with the phrase "Daddy's home," if I could get some people to buy them. Because, you gotta laugh about stuff sometimes, or else, well, I'll let this young gentleman from Ben Gage's house session say it for me. Have a good night,
All
folks.
right.
Well, am I growing stronger, or am I just growing cold? And am I getting wiser, or am I just getting old? I don't know, and this may be a dream. But if you're not real careful, this life will make you mean. Well, sweet summer child, left in the early fall, and I got a real bad feeling he won't be back at all. Keep me warm, keep me dry from the cold rain and sleet. 'Cause if you're not real careful, this life will make you mean. So make the good times last a little longer. Make the good times last a little longer. Make the good times last a little longer, please. 'Cause if you're not real careful, this life will make you mean. Well, sometimes you're the floor and sometimes they're the shoe. And when you're at your lowest, they'll walk all over you. Gotta do what you can to keep from falling on your knees. And if you're not too careful, this life will make you mean. So make the good times last a little longer. make the good times last a little longer. Make the good times last a little longer, please. 'Cause if you're not real careful, this life will make you mean. 'Cause if you're not real careful, this life will make you mean. Yeah, if you're not too careful, this life will make you mean.